events and issues shaping our community. This is Comcast Newsmakers.
Comcast Newsmakers is in Tallahassee, and we're here for Children's Week. We thank you for joining us. I'm Spiro Canton. And on the set here, Senator Mike Haridopolos from District 26, the Space Coast. And thanks very much for joining us. It's good to have you here. Your role in the Senate is going to change significantly. You become the leader of the Senate next year, so your responsibilities are going to be a bit different, aren't they?
Yes, they are, Spiro. It's an incredible opportunity to be blessed by my fellow colleagues being selected the leader of the Senate, called the President of the Senate. We have a lot of challenges in our state, and we're going to do everything we can to create new jobs and new opportunities in this state so our children can be blessed with the same opportunities that you and I were blessed with.
Jobs, a big priority for you. You mentioned it just a few seconds ago, but also that was your big emphasis during this session. Absolutely,
that's job number one. Nothing else works when people can't work. And so at the beginning of the year, Dean Cannon, the incoming speaker, myself, the incoming president, had a huge statewide event in Orlando, and we asked the employers of the state, how do we create more jobs? How do we create new opportunities? We listened, and what we came up with was what's called Jobs for Florida. It's a tax incentive package trying to reduce regulations, lower taxes, and just trying to bring people from other states like California, New York, and even South Carolina that are overtaxing and over-regulating their businesses. We want them to come to Florida.
Interesting. You're facing huge challenges because the unemployment rate in Florida is higher than national average, isn't it?
Oh, it sure is. We have really been hit hard by the mortgage crisis, and in my hometown, of course, the space issue is of paramount importance. We literally reached for the stars in Brevard County, and we're very disappointed President Obama has chosen to go another way.
So that's another priority for you, is what do we do out there in Cape Canaveral with the space initiative? A lot of jobs on the line there.
Absolutely. It could be up to 23,000 jobs.
Oh my
this is
gosh.
Much like what happened after the Apollo space program ended and we moved to the shuttle. There's that gap. The good news is, what would we do here in the state capitol? We have a program called Space Florida. We fully funded that program with over $32.5 million. It's trying to, again, bridge the gap between the current shuttle program and what's going to be next in line. We can't lose our ability to get into space for national security, let alone the innovation and technology that followed with GPS technology, the cell phone, for that matter, even construction equipment, all came from space technology. We want to continue to invest there, and to the credit of the state, we really stepped up this year like never before.
The budget this year, a lot of holes plugged in by the stimulus money that came from Washington. And again, there's been a lot of controversy around that. But aside from that, what's going to happen next year when that money isn't there and these programs that have to be funded again just don't have that stimulus money to depend on?
Well, that's going to be a tough one for us, no doubt, and that's why we're hoping to get back halfway to where we were at the height of the economy. For each dollar of sales tax, we used to raise $4 billion. Right now, for each dollar of sales tax, we only get about $3 billion. So we're in a tough spot. And what Dean and I are really committed to doing is saying, what are our priorities? For example, education and healthcare, we have to fund those. And we want to have more flexibility out of Washington. Too often, Washington, D.C. gives us a one-size-fits-all solution. What Dean and I are working on is the most expensive program in state government, Medicaid. It is increasing dramatically. And to give you an idea, when I started in the legislature 10 years ago, Medicaid made up about 14% of the budget. Today, it's 28% of the budget. It's doubled. And that means other programs like education, roads, even keeping prisoners behind bars are in jeopardy because so much goes to healthcare, Medicaid specific. So our proposal is to go to Washington, D.C. and get what's called a waiver. This is much like we did with welfare reform back in 1996. Let Florida implement its own Medicaid program as opposed to the one-size-fits-all program. And the good news is it worked for welfare, it can work for Medicaid, because guess what? It's not Washington giving us money, like you said, on stimulus.
Right.
It's Floridians sending money to Washington and just getting it back. And then we need to remember that, and Washington needs to remember that as well.
Okay, well, Senator Haridopolos, good luck next year.
Spiro.
You're going to have your work cut out for you. This hour's newsmaker, Senator Mike Haridopolos, District 26 up on the Space Coast. I'm Spiro Canton for Comcast Newsmakers as we come to you all week long talking about children's issue here in Tallahassee. Thanks for joining us.